From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And pretty much, man, today is a big day in the world of sports because it is Martin Luther King Day. And pretty much now it used to be only a few games they played on Martin Luther King Day, but they have even put a playoff game a part of Martin Luther King Day today as well too. And we always know that the NBA has been always a big NBA day as well too, and it's also a big college basketball day as well too. So it should be a really, really good sports day since we're getting things started so early in the morning. So it is what it is. So pretty much let's go ahead and jump into our first topic in hand, and it's going to be what happened on Saturday. And I'm only highlighting the games that were actually games that were exciting and everybody was ready to get involved with. But you had the Bengals win their first playoff game since 1991. And actually the 1990 season, but they won in 1991, the last playoff game. But they beat the Raiders 26-19. That was a huge win for a franchise that has really been sitting up there, and they had really some close calls too over the years. They had, I don't know how many home playoff games that they blew. It just keeps the ongoing. It was the ongoing saga of the Cincinnati Bengals. They finally got over the hump on Saturday. So that was huge for that franchise, for that team, for that city. And they move on to Tennessee in a spot where, you know what, the upset should be right. But you know what, when you look at the stats, Derek Carr did outthrow Joe Burrow. He wound up going for 310. Joe Burrow went for 2 for 44, but Joe Burrow had the better day stat-wise. He went 24 for 34. Derek Carr went 29 for 54. So, you know, that was the difference in that right there. And then Jacobs won the running matchup between him and Mixon. Mixon only had 48 yards. He's kind of ailing with the injury. Jacobs had 83 yards. And then Zay Jones had a really good game, 5 receptions with 61 yards. And then Jamar Chase was the big target. He literally caught half the yardage for Joe Burrow, getting 9 receptions, 116 yards. Now, when you look at the stats, the Raiders had more first downs than the Bengals. They were actually better on third down than the Bengals as well too. They had more 385 to 308 total yards. They went to that, as I said before, they won in the passing game, they won in the running game, and they also ran 10 more plays than the Bengals. So when you look at this, you say, how did the Raiders lose? 2 turnovers that were critical. One was a strip fumble on Derek Carr that was in on their side of the ball as well too, and then being sacked 3 times as well. That doesn't help. And then the Raiders having 7 penalties for 46 yards, but the Bengals had 7 penalties for 56 yards. Now, that was the difference, but the Raiders did everything to win the game. But the only thing where the Raiders messed up at in this spot is that they were trading field goals for touchdowns. The Raiders scored 1 touchdown in the red zone. They got to the red zone 6 times and were only able to get a touchdown situation. And we're only able to get a touchdown once. Other than that, it was 4 field goals. Well, yeah, so pretty much because they failed on the last run of it is when it came down to it, when they had the ball at the 10-yard line to win the game. But it's all good. The Raiders weren't even supposed to be here. The Raiders had one of the greatest finishes to a season that you could ever have. And you know what? You just wanted the party to kind of continue. But Cincinnati did deserve to win this game. They played really good football, and they won probably the toughest division in the conference as well. I know that the AFC West was very tough, but the AFC West wound up getting two teams in there, and the Raiders kind of fell in there. You know what I mean? But the AFC North was really destined to have three teams in the playoffs this year. They wound up only getting two, but they were pacing to have three teams in there. So it was a back and forth battle between this conference, this division, the whole year. So I think that both these teams were very ready for this moment and ready for this game. That's why it wound up being such a really good game. So all in all, congratulations to the Bengals. We'll have more about the Bengals Titans matchup tomorrow when I have Jeff with me. So right now we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic, the game that was pretty much the game of the year when it comes to social media. I think that everybody that in the social media world that's either a 49ers or Cowboys fan had some some diss, something going on yesterday. But the 49ers wound up being the team, wound up having the last laugh in this one, and they have bragging rights for this one, for this game right here. First time ever that they met up in the wild card round as well, too. The 49ers survived that late push by the Cowboys to win the game 23-17 in a highly intense game. Now, when I say highly intense game, this game had all the theater that you could possibly imagine. And I think that pretty much, you had this idea that it was going to get like that. But I hate to say it, the Cowboys had two chances in the final 2 minutes to win this game, and they absolutely failed. Now, when you look at the stats, when it comes down to first downs, the Niners had 21, the Cowboys had 20. Third down efficiency, the Niners went 6 for 13, while the Cowboys went 5 for 14. The Cowboys were 50% on fourth downs as well, too. Now, they did get outgained. The Niners had 341 total yards, and 169 of those yards came on the ground. Now, the Cowboys did win the passing game, but you already saw that coming. Now, once again, the Cowboys did run 7 more plays. They ran 70-63, and they still wound up not coming out on top. Now, they did have a turnover, and Dak was sacked 5 times, but this right here is inexcusable. 14 penalties that equated 89 yards. That right there is the difference in winning and losing a game. It can be all what you want to about the refs in both of those spots with the Raiders and the Cowboys, but they lost these games kind of identical to each other. They did everything possible to win the game, and then they did everything possible to lose the game. So pretty much at the end of the day, you can't get away with that in the playoffs, and that was pretty much the end all be all of both of these teams at the end of the day. Now, do I say that these teams have a lot of upside going into next year? Yes, they do. But at this point right now, 49ers, they're another team that literally was on the brink of not making the playoffs, and they are pretty much playing with the back against the wall mentality. And I know a lot of people were so quick to blame Jimmy G for why they almost lost the game, blase, blase, blase. But I just think that they always want to scapegoat Jimmy G because they know that he's the guy that literally kind of set the divide between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So, when I say this in all fun, that this right here is going to be a dangerous situation for any team that has to face the San Francisco 49ers. The way that defensive front was going at it yesterday with that heralded Cowboys line that is seen as one of the best lines in a very long time, they absolutely were barbecue chicken for that defensive line yesterday. Even with Joey Bosa going out with a concussion, Nick Bosa going out with a concussion still didn't stop how that pass rush was pursuing the quarterback. I think that Aaron Rodgers is in a lot of trouble when it comes down to next Saturday, to be honest with you. Okay. So this is going to wind up being a really good spot for the 49ers place. They're going to a place where they've won before, and they won in a condition where they were a big underdog and it was really cold and blah, 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 blah. And, this was one of their more significant playoff wins. So they're not worried about going on the road and winning in Green Bay. We all know that. But, once again, San Francisco is going against another really hated playoff rival, and that became somewhat of a rivalry when they played the first time against Brett Favre, who had a stellar day that day when it was a monster upset of the 49ers and pretty much the end of the 49ers era in a sense as well, too, at that time. The Niners were coming out fresh off that 5th championship, all that good stuff. They were red hot going into the playoffs, and boom, next thing you know, they lose to the Packers. Things just weren't ever the same after that. So it is what it is at the end of the day. So this is a big game. This is a big turning point, and this is possibly Aaron Rodgers' final game as a Packer against his hometown team, the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But the 49ers get themselves a monster win yesterday. And as for all the Jimmy G haters, I'll just say this. Don't you like to win? That's the quarterback that you have to have in the game if you like to win. All right. So there it is. There it is. So pretty much we move on to our next topic in hand. And this is one that I brought up yesterday. Can this be the end of the Bill B era in New England? With several options to look at this offseason, do you think Bill Belichick might be over there ready to leave New England? I think that quite possibly this can happen. Why? First, I'm going to give you 3 options for Belichick. All right. The first option for Belichick would be this. Say the Raiders want to go ahead and do a whole 180 of the franchise and bring in an absolute general, a guy who's not going to say I'm the star of the team and all this good stuff, and actually coach guys up and bring in guys, and kind of has the mentality of a Raider in a sense as well too. Him and Al Davis would have been like literally peas in a pot if that situation would have occurred to where Al Davis would have hired Bill Belichick, because Bill Belichick did talk to Al Davis shortly after, his tenure and everything like that in Cleveland and things like that. And when he was in midpoint that playing with the Jets, but he was going to take a flight and meet with Al Davis on the possibility of becoming the Raiders coach, which a job he was very interested in at the time. So I would say this. I would think that Mark Davis has enough, capital to go ahead and offer Bill Belichick maybe the same exact situation he handed John Gruden, which would be would make a little bit more sense, because you got a guy that has 9 Super Bowl rings, and you have a guy that maybe a fresh start with edgier type team might be a bit better for him as well too. The Raiders and Bill Belichick kind of just fit each other, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Belichick kind of does things a little slightful, but Al Davis, when he was owning the Raiders, they did kind of the same thing. So they kind of mesh pretty well together. I know it's a big long shot and everything like that, but say you keep Derek Carr there, you keep Waller there, you have Renfro there as well too. You still have Josh Jacobs as well. You have an offensive line that he would be able to go ahead and put the right pieces together to make that offensive line a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more smarter. And then also the effect that he would have on the defensive side of the ball in the way that he game plans games. I just think that this could possibly be the coach that could turn it all around for the Raiders to get them to the end goal, and that's the Lombardi Trophy. Now, the second team I would think could really, really use a Bill Belichick and could go out of their way to bring in Bill Belichick. I know this sounds really, really crazy right now. It sounds nuts. And it's like you would just be starting all the way over, right? You know what I mean? You would just be starting all the way over. But the thing is, though, and actually, yeah, I would say, super long shot, but say something where you can have total control. Houston, he could really build the whole roster, and we could really see if Bill Belichick is the czar or the master coach, a lot of people like to say. But here goes the other option in the state of Texas, and I think this one could have some legs to it. If you're Jerry Jones, you're getting tired of these guys that are coaching your team and they're not leading your team to the promised land. You only have 2 coaches be able to pull that off, and actually 1 coach, because the other coach was just kind of a substitute teacher. So pretty much the thing is, when you look at the Cowboys. They were built by Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, and they won championships, right? The equivalent of a Jimmy Johnson would be bringing back in a Bill Belichick. Only thing is you would have to let Belichick run the team, okay? And I think that at the end of the day, this one is almost the perfect match. The Cowboys have the roster. They have the team that can get them to the promised land, that can get them to their Super Bowl. But they keep shooting themselves in the foot, and they keep having some bad play calling going on both ends of their play calling as well too. Do I think that the offensive coordinator is ready to become a NFL head coach? Absolutely not. I know that a lot of people like Kellen Moore. They like his offensive style. But I'm like, draw up those plays on your old team, Detroit, because he used to play for Detroit as well too. Draw up those plays on Jacksonville and see if it's going to work. No, you are literally living off the talent of the roster. You have CeeDee Lamb, one of the best young receivers in the league. You have Amari Cooper, top 5 receiver in the league. Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, straight burners, both can catch the ball very well too. So, you have a lot of weapons. You have a lot of options going on in Dallas. You have a lot of things that are just that puts you at a level to where you should be playing in the Super Bowl every year. The way that when you look at rosters in the NFL, you look at the Cowboys rosters as top 3 roster in the league, but they keep getting bottom 15 results. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, you need a leader like Belichick, and I think that he could be the man when it comes to this team. And get them to where they need to get to. And he doesn't have to be here for a long time. It just has to be the fix that Jerry Jones has literally been begging for the last 20 some odd years. So we'll see. And then my last option, I said it was 3, but it's 4. I kind of threw in Houston on some fun stuff, but here goes the reality of the situation. Go home to New York. Go to the place where you first found success, and that was with the New York Giants. I think that they need Belichick, and Belichick needs them at this point. There's a lot of love between the Mara family and Bill Belichick because of those good old days back in the 80s and all that good stuff. Now, if you could bring Bill Belichick in here as a GM coach situation like he's pretty much doing in New England, I think that he can turn this whole franchise around. Now, will they be winning right away? I can't guarantee that, but I think that he can put them in a position to where they will be a long-term winner and give them the mentality and give them a better way of going about drafting and things of that nature. So maybe that could work. I think the Giants need to make Bill Belichick their first option to see if they can go ahead and make this thing happen, because there have been talks, and as Belichick always says, if he was ever to leave New England and the Giants were available, that he would take the call, and it could be a possibility. So I think right now it's time for the Mara family to make that call and go get their old defensive coordinator from the good old days with LT and Carl Banks and Pepper Johnson, just to name a few, and get back on to having some fun when it comes down to Big Blue. So, hey, we'll see how it is, and we'll see how it goes. But let's go ahead and move forward to our next topic, and that's going to be tonight's Monday Night Football game, and that's going to be a fun one between the Rams and the Cards. Now, the Rams come into this game red hot, actually. They dropped their final game of the season, but they did sweep out the month of December. They won 5 in a row before dropping their final game of the year. That wound up being pretty huge for this team because they were 7-4 at one point, but even at another point they were 7-1. So the Rams have been running into a consistent point of winning and a consistent point of losing, but they've never really went ahead and just traded them all back and forth. Now they are coming fresh off of a loss, but they are fresh off of a win a few weeks back against the Cardinals in a game that pretty much decided the NFC West title. So the Rams wound up winning that game, and the Rams wound up getting some help from the Seahawks as well, too, who got a monster win over the Cardinals, in which may be the final game with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. But there has been no announcement yet on the status of Pete Carroll moving forward or Russell Wilson. So I'm really surprised to see that Pete Carroll wasn't already on Seattle's name wasn't already on the list for possible head coaching job. So at this point right now, I'm thinking that they're still working out if he wants to come back or if they're gonna ask him to retire. So you have this LA team that has the world on their back tonight. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Rams, to be honest with you. But there's also a lot of pressure on Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals, specifically Cliff Kingsbury. I think that if they lose this game tonight and if they lose this game in ugly fashion where they get blown out by 20 or more points, he's not going to be their coach next season. All right. I just think that at this point in time, I think that Kyler's over it. I think that the rest of the offense is over it. And I think that if you don't have a very healthy J.J. Watt tonight, you're not going to really be able to do much with the Rams. J.J. Watt was the biggest difference on this Arizona Cardinal team this season. He was the guy that brought this team into the forefront of being one of the more dominant teams in the NFL. But once he went down with that injury, everything kind of changed on the defensive side. And this put a little bit more pressure on the offensive side of the ball. And that's why things have been a little bit different now, because the offense has to really pick up the slack, because now the defense is not 3-and-outing guys and getting turnovers and things like that. So now they really have to be a little tricky and try to get out there on the field and really eat up some clock. And that's not their style. They like to get down the field with big chunk plays and get themselves some touchdowns, be scoring early and often, that type of mentality. But I think tonight the Rams are going to go ahead and show that they have the playoff experience here. You have guys on the Cardinals who have playoff experience, but then you have a quarterback who's never been in the playoffs before, ever. And I know that this will be new to him. I know that he plays up to all the situations. That's why he's the number one pick in the draft. But I just say when it comes down to this game right here, what happens here is that we have ourselves a nice Rams win tonight, and there's going to be a nice little celebration over on Manchester and Century and all those great adjacent streets over by the beautiful SoFi Stadium. So there it is. Tonight you got the Cardinals as the underdog plus 160. Rams are minus 190 on the money line, 3.5-point spread with the over and under of 49.5. So let's see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Rams at the Chargers tonight for the first ever Monday Night Football playoff game, live from SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. All right, so there it is. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to go ahead and get into the state of the Lakers. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the NBA Monday night. And then we'll finish up with Talkin Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the Primetime Angles Live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead and jump into the state of the Lakers. And the Lakers are kind of going back to struggling again. The Lakers, after winning 4 in a row, the Lakers have dropped 3 in a row now. So, that was a tough game, though. I'll be honest with you. That game with Denver was always a tough game going into, but when you get blown out by 37 points, man, everybody's going to have something to say. So Magic had his little words and comments and everything about what happened, but at the end of the day, it's only one game, and the Lakers can use this as motivation, but it's not good when you start off the month 3-0. You got positive vibes, you know what I mean? You're playing great basketball, and then you lose your next 3 games in a row. And then also at the same time, too, you're giving up almost 125 plus points in all 3 of those games as well, too, compared to giving up under 120 in the first 3 games. So right now, once again, it's the late. It's not about who's not scoring, because as you can see, they're scoring a whole lot of points every night. It's about not defending, and that's been the team's problem the whole year, is not defending the ball well enough. Now, the Lakers going to this one tonight, going against the Jazz team, who's one of the better teams in the NBA this year. That is this their first meeting of the season? I think it is. So pretty much this one usually always this is a game where the Lakers always figure out a way to get things right. And it seems like they always catch Utah after they come out of a big blowout or something of that nature. But I know Utah is the team that everybody's looking at tonight like this is going to be tough. But let me tell you something about a Utah team that did start off the season really, really well. Okay. Utah is 29-14. They're literally almost running away with their division right now. They're up 7 games. Okay. But this month has probably been their worst month of the start to the season, worst start of a month all season. They have lost 5 out of 8 games, okay, and including 4 in a row, but 3 of those games were on the road. They were on a 5-game road trip and wound up losing the final 3 of that road trip. So that makes a little sense, you know what I mean? But then they came right home and got beat by Cleveland. Went back around, played Denver, a team that they're very familiar with because they're all in the same division, and they beat them by 23. So they did get themselves they did snap that 4-game losing streak, but this is another team that's giving up a lot of points right now as well, too. When I look at their losses, they're giving up like at least 125 a game. Okay, and the lowest amount that was scored on them in a loss was 111 from a Cleveland team. That's not a high scoring team. Now they're scoring a lot of points as well too. So these teams are actually like kind of in the same boat right now when we all keep it 100 here. Okay, so this will be another one of these. You don't really know what's going to happen in it type of games, but I think that LeBron and the way that they've been called out by veterans and LA media members and things like that, I think the Lakers are ready to shut some people up today. So we're going to see how this one sets up. We're going to see how it goes and see how it shakes out. But all in all, let's hope for a good game tonight. The Lakers snap this 3-game losing streak and get themselves prepared for looks like it's going to be a very not a long week, but it's going to be a week where you're going to be very active with games. You got 2 games in LA, then you got to fly to Florida for a weekend jaunt with Orlando and Miami, and then you're headed to Brooklyn on Tuesday, Philly, Charlotte, and then you close the month in Atlanta. So they got 6 road games to finish up the month. So these will be their final 2 home games in January. So be ready for that. And the Lakers are going to be on the road. I'm not going to say they're going to be on the road a lot in February, but there's going to be a lot of things happening at Staples Center that will have them not at Staples Center. So, yeah, that's why you have them playing 6 in a row on the road, and pretty much their next 7 out of 10 as well, too. So, after these 2 home games. So there it is. And when I'm looking at the Lakers schedule, March is going to be probably the most defining month for this team, because when you look at everything, when it's all said and done, this is the month where they are playing their most road games as well too, and they're meeting up with arch rivals like Golden State and everything like that at this point, because it's pretty cool how their schedules lines up with Golden State and everything like that. They're playing Golden State once for the next 3 months, February through March. So that's something that you can look at as well too. But this is gonna be fun, man. I can't wait. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our NBA Wednesday night to NBA Monday night. And up first, we have the Bucks and the Hawks. The Bucks and the Hawks. This is going to be a fun matchup because you have the Bucks and Hawks going at it, and you have the Bucks, the defending champions, and then you have the Hawks, pretty much the team that is the representative for Dr. King because he did live in Atlanta and everything like that, and pretty much Memphis is also a high representative as well too because that's where he was murdered at. So pretty much you look at this, you got a Bucks team that's lost their last 3 out of 5, including their last game against the Bucks, against the Raptors. And then you also have the Hawks who have just been struggling. As I said before, this team is just going through the motions right now. And a lot of people, I know that they really just done with the Hawks. But so pretty much they have they've wound up losing their last 6 out of 7. So pretty much this is where they're at. This is what it's gonna be. And they've struggled and they got to get better. And I think 4 straight road games, they've lost 5 out of 6 of those games. They're back at home somewhere that's a little bit better, but they're 0-2 this month at home as well too. So it's just something that they have to get together, and they have to get it together fairly quickly as well too. So I like the Hawks tonight. I think the Bucks, with their inconsistent play, the way that they go about things, in this game being on TNT tonight as well too, I think this game really calls for a big spot, big win for the Hawks here, and I'm gonna circle them to be a straight up winner tonight against the Bucks, a team that they play fairly well throughout the year as well too. So there it is. We move on, and we have the Blazers and the Magic. The Blazers and the Magic. This game is between two teams that are kind of going in the same direction, the lottery. So when I look at what's going on here, we have some fun going on here. We have a team in the Blazers that get a little busy tonight with no Lillard there. I don't know if Lillard's going to be returning this season either because he's dealing with a ab injury that caused for him to be out a minimum 6 weeks. So by the time he gets back, they'll probably be way out of playoff contention because they're way out of playoff contention right now as we speak. But the Blazers have actually played much better basketball over here in their last 5. They've actually wound up winning their last 3 out of 5, including a nice little win over a very tough Wizards team on the road last night as well too, beating them 115-110. Now they come back around and they play Orlando, a team that's dropped their last 4 out of 5, but that's nothing new because that's pretty much been the gist of this team's season. You have to understand these guys have only won a game, so literally they're winning like 1 game a month. So pretty much Orlando, the tryhards, as I like to say, it seems like for every 3 games, they'll play really tough, and then they'll wind up having a game where they get beat by double digits like last night. So now they come back around, and they are back at home. They're going against the Blazers. The Blazers coming off a really good win, and I know that they're hurting, they're ailing, whatever, but I think that CJ McCollum is going to step it up here in this spot tonight. But I think that what happens here is a rare spot. Orlando doesn't score a lot of points, but tonight they will. I think that what happens here is that we get the over because you have 2 teams that are just really not going anywhere at this point. And what else? Let's just go ahead and have some points tonight. Listen, let's get some shots off tonight. Everybody have some fun tonight. And these are how those games usually work out. So we move forward, and let's go ahead and jump into our next spot, and that's going to be the Raptors and the Heat. And the Raptors and the Heat coming into this one. This is a good game because you have a Raptors team that has pretty much got their whole thing together, and pretty much they start off this month on fire. They actually have won their first 5 in a row. Then they dropped 2 in a row and just recently beat Milwaukee on Saturday. So right now they're 6-2 on the month and have won 6 out of 8. And then when you look at how they finished up last month, they finished up with the win. So they just had their 6-game winning streak snapped last week. And they had a really bad loss to Detroit, but that's all good. They come back around today. They're playing against Miami. They're playing. They're on a nice little 5-game road trip as well too. So this will be the third of that trip. So they're going to try to get into this one tonight and get in here early and try to figure out a way to upset a very good Heat team when they are at home. But the Heat's been playing some really good basketball all season. They're 27-16 on the year, and of course they lead the Southeast Division as well, with 4 games over the Charlotte Hornets. So when I look at the schedule, you have a Miami team that you feel like's been back and forth, but they've had a lot of moments where they won 4 or 5 games in a row. Nobody says anything though. So they won 4 straight this month, but then they also have lost 3 this month as well too. So they went on a nice little winning streak. You know, when they finished up their road trip on for the West Coast, they had some pretty bad losses, and then they were able to get it all together, get a good win over Portland, and then came back around and blew out the Phoenix Suns by 23 in Phoenix, and then came back around, beat Atlanta and beat them by 24, and then came back and beat them by 6 the next night. So this team has been they're pretty spot on, and then they play, you know, Saturday night against Philly, wound up losing that game by 11. So this team is, to me, playing really good basketball at this point, and I think that they're going to be tough tonight. But I think what happens here, though, also is that the Raptors will be in this one, but I think that Miami will be too much. I think that you can go ahead and spend a little extra money tonight and just play the money line straight up on Miami. I have minus 150 here from what I'm seeing. It will probably hop up to maybe 160 or so, because I think a lot of people will see the fact that Miami is one of the better home teams in the NBA, and that's where a lot of the action is going to come from, because people are going to be confident what they see online. They're going to be confident that they know that they're a home team tonight. So we're going to see how this one goes, and we're going to see how it shakes out. But that should be a good one tonight as well, too. Raptors and the Heat. Now we move forward to our next game, which is going to be the OKC Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks. Now you have a Thunder team that is not winning games, but they're playing much better than they did to start the year off. They're 14-28. They've actually have kind of picked up the pace a little bit, because the first few months they weren't winning many games, but now they're winning. They're winning somewhat, but they're still, you know, way out of it at this point. But they've had a bad month. Let's not play around and act like they've been doing they've been doing great. You know what I mean? They've actually lost 6 out of 7 to start the month of January. But most of these games, though, are fairly close. I think I can only call out one game where they actually got blown out, and that was in the Minnesota game where they lost by 30. The rest of these games were under double digits, and the one win that they have was against Brooklyn this month as well, too, winning that game 130-109. Now they're going against a Mavericks team that is not really that great at home at this moment. Even though, you know, pretty much they've been really good at home this month, they haven't lost a game. They're 4-0 to be exact. There was a point in time where they lost about 7 games in a row at home. So this team is kind of shaky at the house, to be honest with you. But they're having a great month right now. They're 7-1 in the month of January right now. And the only loss that they had was against the Knicks in the Garden, and I think Luka wasn't even with them that night. So they wound up losing that game by 23. So they come back around. They got a good win over Memphis Friday night. Memphis came into that game winners of 11 in a row. They went in there and beat them by almost 30 points. And you have to understand they were down 5 when they went into the half as well, too. Wound up scoring 62 points and only allowing 30 points in the second half. That's tremendous. That's some good damn basketball right there. And then they beat Orlando on Saturday 108-92 at home. So tonight they go against a Thunder team that they've already beat this month by 9 when they went to Oklahoma City to play them. Then also they played them in Oklahoma City back in December. Wound up getting a good win over them that day as well, too, beating them by 19. And then I'm trying to see if how many times they played them. They played them twice. So they are 2-0 versus the Thunder this year. Now, the Thunder, first time that they'll be playing Dallas this season as well, too. So this can be kind of tricky right here. I do like the plus 11 because this team is scrapping. They're not winning, but they scrapping. You know what I mean? You might knock them out, but still, they leaving some scratches, a little black eye, little eye jammies on your face and stuff like that. They scrapping, they fight, they doing what they got to do. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our finale. This is going to be the Suns versus the Spurs. This one is going to be another really good game, and I know that the Suns coming to this one kind of have came back down to earth a little bit. I'm not saying they're regressing. I'm just saying that they kind of have got caught a little bit. But I'm just kind of talking because the thing is they've been killing it this month. Still, they're 6-1 as well too this month, but they did have a pretty bad loss against Miami. And then, the other night they were able to get a good win over Toronto. Then they were able to get a good win over Indiana. And then they were also able yesterday to blow away Detroit. So they're coming in here on a back-to-back, and they had to fly down to Texas. Now, San Antonio has played them tough all season, to be exact. Now, San Antonio this month, they're kind of struggling because San Antonio right now is 2-7 in the month of February, and they lost 5 in a row before snapping that 5-game losing streak with a win over the Clippers at home Saturday night. So now they come back around, play against a Phoenix team that they played very close twice. And the last time they played against Phoenix was back on the 22nd of November, wound up losing that game by 4 points. So they come back around and they get it on again today. And they played Phoenix in Phoenix, wound up losing that game by 4 points. So as I keep saying, they are very close to Phoenix. They're playing Phoenix today, and they're also going to play Phoenix at the end of the month back in Phoenix. So this could be another spot where a monster upset happens just because how close they've played them all season. But that doesn't guarantee anything. I think that pretty much you just have to go ahead and look at this one and say to yourself that the best way to gauge this one, and when you look at the other two games, those two games went well under the 227. So, well, one of them went up. They both went up under the 227.5 hook that they point total that they had tonight. So I'm going to go with that analogy, and that's where I'm going to go tonight. I think the under is the play here. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's going to be the Suns and the Spurs, and I look forward to another really good game here tonight as well too. So we'll see how this one shapes up. But let's go ahead and get into the main event of the show, and that's the Talkin Tickets. All right, so we're talking tickets. Shout out to my man, Mr. Canna. Man, my boy, Mr. McFeeders, always a good dude. You guys give him a check out on the Clyde things and things like that. But thank you, sir, for the thumbs up. I truly do appreciate that. Now, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's primetime pick 6. We're at 50-1 tonight. I got the +1.5 on Jackson State. Then I got Sacred Heart with the -9. Then I have Northeastern tonight, money line +105. Then also we have the Harvard money line -120. Then we have the Portland money line, Portland +10. And then we also have Northern Zona with the -5. That's going to be a 50-1 ticket. We move forward. Let's talk about the NBA. And in the NBA, I have a 30-1 ticket here. We're going to have the Hawks +170 as our dog of the day. Then we have the Blazers and Magic over 218.5. Then we have the Heat with the -150. And then we have the Thunder +11, and then we have the under going with the 227 with the Suns and the Spurs tonight. That ticket is going to be 30-1. And then we have the Monday Night Football playoff bets. I got the Rams as the winner tonight with the 3.5. And then also I have the over 24 with the first half tonight as well too. And then with the Rams in the first quarter, I have them leading in the first quarter. We're getting plus money on that bad boy tonight as well too, +105. And then when it comes down to the actual point total of the teams, I have the Rams going over 27 team total to go ahead and take care of their business tonight and get themselves a great win over at SoFi. But this will be one of their tougher games of the season because they're going against a team that already whooped their butts pretty bad at home. I know because I was there that day, and it was absolutely ugly from second quarter on. So pretty much hopefully they can get get it back today and, right that wrong from last week as well, too, because this team could have been the 2 seed, would have been playing yesterday against the Eagles, and everything would have been all good. But they are now in the scenario that they are in. But I want to go ahead and thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best. You guys are – there is no me without you. You guys know that, man. And, we just got some great things going and everything like that. And also, it looks like that possibly in a few weeks or so, we're probably going to maybe put the show on hold for a moment because I kind of want to focus in on some other things real quick. The show's not going anywhere, but we might have to put the show may go on a little bit of a hiatus, but I'll keep you guys posted on that because I'm getting busier and busier with my other business as well too. So I just want to give you guys that heads up, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be doing videos and everything every single day for you guys. Okay. So pretty much it is what it is. We'll have Jeff Dawson coming in tomorrow for him to go over a full look on the playoffs coming up next weekend and what matchups to look for that will quite possibly yield a monster upset this weekend as well too. So I look forward to that. So I want to thank you guys once again very much for tuning on into the Primetime Angles Live. And this is the Premier Sports Betting Show, and I'm your host, Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. If you got a hunch, bet a bunch. And man, as I always say, the movement is moving. So with that, I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.